Welcome back to the LEC studio for a decisive matchup in the race for playoffs. XL are fighting to avoid yet another season watching the playoffs from home, and with the Misfits win versus Schalke, it now looks like we have a 3-horse race in the last playoffs spot. Mwah. Welcome to the first 2-0 of 2021.
Exactly, but not the last, hopefully.
Oh, well, you've only got one more opportunity because there's only 5 games
was that
left,
like a
right?
weird statement to make?
Yes.
Like you said, 2021. There's still a summer split as well. Surely we can get another 2-0 somewhere.
It was the first time. But anyways, listen. The teams are entering the game in the opposite way. SK are on a 4-game winning streak. XL are on a 4-game losing streak. And when you look at the standings right now, the fact that Misfits have now got a new injection of playoffs life and hope, I think the favored outcome is for SK to take down XL, put the 3 teams in that race for the 6th spot. I've got a lot of comments on our XL figured out. You know, Mac yesterday, Vedius, Ender today. Deficio, do you think it's fair? Do you agree XL are figured out? Because they're losing a lot, they're struggling.
It's a kind of bit of an easy statement to make now when they've lost so many games in a row. If you asked me like 2 weeks ago, if it was just like Banazir and then suddenly XL will struggle in the games, maybe it would have been a harder prediction to make. But yeah, they've obviously been figured out a bit. I think they're generally lacking from firepower across the different lanes. Like they don't actually have a single lane right now that can win on its own or that they can play through easily. And that makes it really difficult for the rookie jungler as well to actually decide how am I going to carry this game? Because typically on the bottom teams, when lanes can't get their own advantages, all eyes fall to the jungler. But the other teams also know that, and it's really easy to play towards or against that style if you just have like decent laners yourself.
And I think even more than anyone figuring out XL, I think our other teams are starting to figure themselves out, right? Because XL's the way that they play the game is very much, you know, we're not going to do much of anything in the laning phase, right? You look at their stats, absolutely abysmal, but they draft for team fights and they play good team fights around objectives. And as our other teams, you know, lower in the standings figure themselves out and figure out how to punish harder off of the lane advantages they get, how to contest XL in the team fights, now we see XL start to struggle.
So one thing I love about Youngbuck is he typically goes into a season with like a very clear identity in mind and very clear style. And he did that last year with XL as well. We got to see it. We see it every game, basically. It is a late game team fighting. It's a simpler way, easier way to play the game. The problem is if you start reaching a point where you can't even get to the late game, your style doesn't work.
Well,
and I don't know if they can change that.
Let's quickly turn our attention to SK because we are running short on pre-match. And SK is the team that's on fire. I think XL a lot of work to be done. One thing that you said that really stuck out to me, Deficio, was there's a lack of firepower on the XL side. That is not true for SK. I mean, we're seeing that in Jezu, we're seeing that in Treatz, we're seeing that even from you know, Jenax up in the top lane, but Jezu and Treatz in particular yesterday, huge performance. And you can see on your screen, it's this blind Hex Flash that gets SK back into the game against Mad Lions and has actually put the voice in my head saying, Treatz MVP candidate. I think he's in the discussion.
I mean, he should be. He's definitely in like the top 3 support performance discussion right now. A big part of it is SK Gaming and Jez is specifically their coach are super good at finding like 1 to 2 really key picks for his team and his players that they really know how to play around. For them specifically, it's been Kalista bot lane, which then enables Treatz to play even more aggressive as the main engage, and they need that. They need him as the main engage on the team. And he can do it with Alistar, Java, and these kind of picks. So the Kalista pick in itself gives them a lane to play around early, and it also gives Treatz another way to play super aggressive as engage.
We're very near the end of our pre-match, so I'm going to ask Ender to do this quickly because the other one can't. We will be doing a post-match for this game, so Ender, what are the things we should be looking out for and who's going to come out on top?
It's the bot lane, right? XL are not explosive in the early game. SK's bot lane is. Expect to see jungle attention around that lane. Expect to see Kalista plus Jarvan, Kalista, Alistar, these types of bot lane matchups, because if SK get that, that's going to be how they break it up.
Ban Kalista.
Okay, that was short. Well done. Are you an SK fan right now?
I am.
Fantastic. SK are on fire here in the LEC and can take down a massive, or can take a massive leap towards playoffs with a win versus XL. I can't read the prompter today.
When you talk about Misfits.
It's just the end of the day. Just stay with us.
Boomer Trevor. Boomer Trevor. Exclusively yes, no questions for Deficio. Some things never change. Concise, not always a word we associate with the big brains of the League of Legends community, and we're going to see how many of those big brains are in this game today. XL versus SK again. The theme for most of our games today is it's a battle of a lot of middle-of-the-pack teams. This is the second one of the day. Obviously, Misfits Schalke, the game we just came off of. But for Excel and SK, SK are steadily pulling ahead. And Excel, if they lose here, Caedrel, are going to be tied with Misfits and Schalke as they get lower and lower down in the standings.
Yeah, for that 6th spot, it's all getting quite hectic in the middle of the pack. And you have to look at this matchup and say SK's on an upswing, Excel's on a downswing. Excel had something that worked for them at the start of the split. They tried different things in different formulas, but nothing stuck. Can they finally find something that sticks and start getting themselves into the playoffs race? Groovy.
Definitely groovy. Not quite as much, maybe a little more of a rat jam than a cat jam, but still definitely a little bit
rat
of
jammer, a little rat jammer.
A little rat jammer. Still dying from banger.
There it is. He's right. The Kalista band. The
Instantly.
Pog.
Wow, Deficio leaking strats. No. Kalista ban makes a lot of sense. You heard all the reasoning on the analyst as we can recap it more as we get into the game. But the Senna also going to be taken off the board, limiting some of the scaling options from the side of Excel. Also the Azir to follow. So nothing too out of the ordinary from what we've seen so far. The Kalista really the only ban that feels quite personal from either side.
Yeah, I feel like Jezu has found success on meta and off-meta ADs that no one else is playing, right? He's been playing things like Kalista, Misfortune, Vayne, which is not something you think about in a sort of Kryze, Aphelios, Senna meta, right? So yeah, definitely popping off on those champs. I think the Kalista ban makes a lot of sense. TF has been something that's been rising a lot over the last few weeks, or the last few days, sorry, I should say, as the most OP champion. Now that Kryze has been nerfed away, Pantanolap are out of the equation, and Azir is always banned off. So that's the kind of next strongest mid that I'm looking at as the first pick, or it's the Senna Tam. But the Senna's banned away, so TF's my eyes.
TF.
Boom.
He's been the power pick. He's looked so good. Even though he hasn't always been winning out in these games, he still looks so impactful in the mid game. And of course, if SK can get a lead early on, as they sometimes manage to do, it should be very good for the team overall.
Yeah, the next OP you think of is Rel, right? Will Excel decide to go for that Rel, or will they pivot? Lilia, TF, Rel are the most OPs, I think.
They have to, because you can't give Treatz the Rel.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, that's a Sire 1-2. Makes slight sense now that Kalista's off the table, Aphelios stretches down, Senna's out, Kai'Sa's nerfed. I'm not sure it's going to be paired with Rakan too much because Rakan is kind of weak in this meta, does lose to a lot of the aftershock supports.
Yeah, and Rel just feels like the better Rakan right now in terms of the just raw overall engage potential.
There's the Lilia, which is also in the top 3 OPs. So now Rel's the last one you have to think of. They could have just gone for the Lilia Rel and then Zion 3, you might argue, if they were prioritizing that Rel, but they decided to go for Lilia instead. They don't want to really play the Rel. Maybe they're happy to play against it. Maybe they've got a trap card for SK if they decide to pick it.
Certainly possible. The pass-through damage on the Zaya is going to make her one of those awesome scaling options that Excel usually look for. Also a bit more safety up against the point-and-click potential from the likes of a TF, and even the Rel there will be a certain amount of safety from. But now we're going to see if SK want to round things out by matching the AD carry presence on the opposite side, or perhaps going for a jungle choice, as you have to imagine that's what Excel are going to be targeting out as we head into the second portion of the picks advance.
TynX has had so much success on champions like Hecarim, Graves, and Nidalee, so if he doesn't pick them here, a couple of them might get banned out. There's the Graves, so definitely matching jungle, like you said. Looks like Jezu will have a couple of AD carries up his sleeve. Things like the Ezreal, the Kai'Sa, the Jhin are still in the equation for him. But I really like the comp overall from SK. Really strong mid-jungle 2v2, and you have the most OP support in the game.
And you mentioned earlier kind of how Jezu is so willing to play more niche, more off-meta AD carries, and this is certainly going to help him as we head to the second ban phase, because what do Excel ban? Are they going to ban the Vayne? That doesn't really feel like it makes a whole ton of sense. So instead of banning the AD carries, they're going to focus on some of the other power picks that we have been seeing rise up. Aatrox most certainly one of them.
Rise up, get it? Because Rise is fixed.
Eight?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Renekton ban as well. You know, Graves, TF, Renekton sounds really strong in the top side, and SK have to blind pick top, so Excel targeting that role. And yeah, they're picking up the Ryze here, which you saw last game as well. Viteo doing really well against Abadage in that game with the Ryze into TF, which has been one of the best matchups for Ryze, because Ryze struggles in lane against control mages who outrange him, but TF doesn't. He wins the trades and then he wins the side lane if he's ahead. So TF slightly countered, I would say, by Ryze in terms of scaling and the lane phase. But if TF gets ahead and has that rapid fire, he can be quite annoying to enemy team, especially when you have so much follow-up like the Rel.
And of course, what we've also seen is that even if one lane matchup is winning on paper, if another lane matchup goes heavily in the favor of one side, as we saw yesterday in the Rogue game, that advantage can snowball and be spread to the rest of the map. And with a support like Treatz on your team, you expect that if they start to win bot, that Treatz is going mid next to try to win that lane as well. But now, the Kai'Sa, even post-nerf, has been taken away, limiting that synergy.
Yeah, so Jezu's looking at things like the MF, the Ezreal, and the Jin. We haven't seen too much Ashe as well, so those are the three champions I'm looking at. Yes, you could argue Jinx has risen a bit, but that GP ban and the Aatrox ban just tells me that Renekton is just one of the strongest tops open right now. And Jenax really loves his Renekton, he really loves his Gragas, and he really loves his Volibear. Those are the three main champions he's been playing, whereas Kryze also really likes the Renekton. So very highly contested pick between both these tops here, and Renekton fits really well with TF and Ryze. So interesting to see if that gets picked up, or if XL have some kind of counter to it, if they can just pick support here for free now, and then last pick your top laner.
It's difficult because it almost feels like they have to take Renekton, but they're going to take the Rakan instead, so opting for that matchup to the bottom side. But keep in mind, you already have double AP in terms of the mid-jungle matchup, so if you go for another magic damage source top side in the Gragas, itemization for whatever SK want to grab here is very easy. That said, if SK grab the Gragas, they've got AP damage solo laners, 80 jungler. That is an ideal setup.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this draft evolves. It's been interesting to see. So there's the Jin we were talking about for Jezu. So now I'm really interested to see what top lane does, because if SK pick an 80 top laner like you were mentioning, they have so much 80 damage that their only real AP threat is a TF, which we saw last game with Schalke. Doesn't work so well when it gets to the mid to late game. They all have armor. Yes, TF can be useful with the stun cards because no one has tenacity, but just in general, there's not enough damage or burst potential coming out from the TF to sustain the AP damage that you're lacking. So you could go for something like the Gragas or the Volibear, which would help the compound a lot, but he does go for the Gnar, which I think that's the first time we're seeing Jenax pick up the Gnar in this time. That's his first time he's actually playing it this split. And we'll have to see how that pans out, because Kryze could go for something like the Camille now, which would be very dangerous with a Ryze on his team going for a 1-3-1.
We'll see how well the Gnar can perform in Jenax's hand. We've seen a lot of Gnars in the LEC win lane, build small advantages, but then struggle to be impactful in mid to late game fights. But Kryze gonna try his hands on a tanky boy on the top side of the map. It's the Scion getting locked in, and well, we'll see if he can just be chilling this game, if he can go for the solo bolo, or if he's just gonna be trapped under his tower as Gnar tries to push him in.
With the solo bolo. Pogo. No, yeah, we'll have to see how it evolves. I'm not sure if he's gonna go full. He's gonna go full tank Scion, most likely. That's what we'll see. He's basically picked a weak side top here just to manage the TF, because I think Patrik can go, maybe he can go cleanse, or he can ult the TF stun card when he goes towards the bot side. So Blue running out of options here on the side lanes. And I can see XL's comp has lots of scaling on it, right? Zyra can Ryze scales so well into the late game. You have so much teamfight strength, especially against things like the 4 range champions that SK have. So really good comp by XL, lots of scaling, but not too much early game proactivity, not too much point and click CC winning lanes. So I think SK should have lane advantage, but XL definitely have scaling on their side, which we saw them do in week 1 and 2 and 3.
So we have all eyes on the early game to see who can come out on top in this battle between SK and XL. All right, Caedrel. Oh, an iconic Young Buck level 1.
They're going to use the Rakan W over the wall, maybe. No, he didn't go over the wall, so they're just chilling.
Dan. Oh, wait. It's the plot of Bambi's revenge. Dan is the bait. TynX, the hunter, cannot resist himself.
Maybe he walks up to a ward in Dan's face.
He just wants to shoot the fawn.
I think XL might not be able to get much here. TynX, if he walks up, yes, he might die, but I think he can just flash away. He probably has Nimbus Cloak as well, so should be able to escape. I think XL might have to back off, but he's walking up.
Oh,
he's going to take the bait.
The spider senses are tingling. Are they tingling?
Is Tori in range just
yet?
Okay, it looks like they're going to have to back off. They're a bit too late to lane now. Yep, call the play off, and nice try from XL. They did spot out TynX. I think if TynX was in the other bush, the one next to the entrance to blue, then maybe Tori could have W'd over the wall and looked for something like that, but doesn't go for it in the end. It's quite risky. And like we said in the draft, Patrik has cleanse, Czekolad has cleanse, Kryze is a full tank. So blue doesn't have too many options in the early game.
And of course, when you look at both of these teams, in general, SK have been a team that's showing us a lot more and is proving to develop over the course of the split. XL have been a little bit 1-0, but when they have been able to get scaling compositions and get to the late game, it has looked solid. So in the early game, SK, we expect them to be in the driver's seat, see what they can get done. Now, the Jin Rel lane, definitely not as powerful as a lot of the other Rel combos that we've seen, so a bit of pressure on Treatz to still find a way to make big impact in this duo bot.
Yeah, normally we see the Kaisa dash in, maybe even an Ezreal dash in, and then use the Rel stun to follow up, but I think Treatz going to have to be the engage. Jezu is the follow-up, and Jezu might struggle in the late stages of the game. You know, Kryze is going to be really beefy on this Scion, and Jin is not a very good tank killer. As Jezu steps forward, Torre
clean sidestep.
Almost landed the knockup, but Jezu's movement there was clean.
That said, they're still not winning out on the trade overall in terms of health, but in terms of lane pressure, they are. Early level 2 could certainly help out a lot, as Kryze, as expected, is suffering a little bit here. opted to start with the W, so we'll be getting more stacking health, but obviously not quite as much trading potential.
Yeah, I think Zyrakan spikes level 1 in a way if you go for a level 1 cheese. Obviously, they have so much burst if you face check a Zyrakan. But after that, I think when it gets to the lane push, I think most bot lanes kind of push them in. We'll see the Jin and Rel contest the wave here and try to push them in. But when this bot lane hits level 6 of Zyrakan, the Resiah can step forwards, the Rakan can hover behind him, and then he can dash onto the Xayah from a really far distance and then knock you up, and you won't really expect it coming. So we'll have to see how that bot lane evolves, but Jenax having power on this top lane makes sense. Range matchup into a tank. It's very hard for Kryze to trade onto him.
Yeah, taking a lot of damage though here, and of course Grasp, the option that he has gone for, but it's going to be very difficult for him to get those procs outside of when Jenax is going to go for Meganar. Fleet footwork on the upside for Jenax, just trying to stay at arm's length here, and early jungle clears will continue. For now, the name of the game with Lilia Graves on the field is just a bit of power farming. Neither side feels too much pressure to gank as of yet, but we'll keep our eyes on it as it progresses.
Yeah. Have to see how the early game progresses for XL. They have been struggling with early game comps, but they have a very good scaling on their side now.
And Caedrel, hold that thought, make sure that this recall completes, because I want to talk to you about something. Because I found a graphic with the help of our wonderful stats team, with the help of Marcus, our stats guy. But you have to promise that you will not get a gigantic ego if I run this.
All right, I'll try not to.
Okay, you're good?
Okay, show me the
You can
graphic.
resist your temptation. Excel this season versus last summer. Now, what you're going to see here is that Excel were very good in the late game last summer.
Yeah.
But in the early game, things were much better in summer. This time around, they're at almost a 2K gold deficit. This time around, it's Torre getting caught out and potentially taken down. He will W out to safety, but Caedrel, without making this about you, what is your read on this situation?
Well, I wasn't expecting this, but yeah, last summer I was on XL, so lots of proactivity trying to get in people's faces. Maybe I'm a bit of a flip player. Sometimes I was a bit aggressive. It did bite me in the butt a few times by driving teams when I shouldn't do. But yeah, you can see the stark difference, I presume. I guess XL have found more of a different playstyle. They have been sitting at 5 wins, 7 losses, so it's been working for them. They're playing more towards scaling, whereas I think last split we were playing more towards winning early game and playing for jungle. But XL have found a formula this split, although their early game stats don't look the greatest this spring.
Yeah, being down 2K gold in the early game against a lot of these teams, especially SK, not a team I would have originally put on the list at the start of the season, but a team who's looked better and better. Falling behind against them does feel like a bit of a death sentence, but SK, of course, after the games yesterday, are no strangers to falling behind. It was a miracle turnaround, a Hex Flash through Fog of War, blind, where Treatz was able to turn a massive fight, where SK really were proving to us again that they are growing as a team, that they can come back from what are pretty massive deficits. 4K at 20 minutes is nothing to smirk at.
Yeah, lots of things make a staple for good teams. Lots of different things, like having a good draft and winning the early game, being really good in late game. But one key thing that lots of professional teams need to be the best is a clutch factor. I think that's what SK has. I think Treatz has been their clutch factor. We've seen it since week 1, flashing in with Thresh, getting knockups on Jarvan, winning the lane. Even in a game deficit of 4K gold, he's actually able to find a pick and get his team Baron when they're actually losing the game so heavily. So that clutch factor is so important for SK, and Treatz has been a really big factor for that.
We'll keep our eyes on Treatz as the game progresses. But of course, XL is still a team that we need to watch. The game all important from them. Again, SK is steadily pulling ahead, whereas XL are risking falling behind into the pack of teams waiting for the Misfits and Schalke No Fear at this moment. See if Kryze gets a little bit more comfortable as this lane phase continues. He's going to be very happy with that decimating smash, and as more and more Ruby crystals come out, you have to imagine that Jenax isn't going to be able to harass quite as effectively as he was at the start of the laning phase.
Yeah, wins in the early game. Kryze uses his TP to nullify that advantage he's accrued. Have to see if Jenax wants to TP back. I would imagine he will. So SK with his TF, where do they want to put it? You can see Kryze is already so tanky, has the ult to escape, worst case as well. Czekolad always has the cleanse, and so does Patrik, so Kryze gets a good knock-up, gets a good trade. Maybe he decides to go for an ult here.
It's hard to know how long Kryze wants to extend these trades for. Jenax getting multiple hyper procs there is going to make sure that it evens out. Meganar on the way. TynX is in the area as well. If Kryze gets a little over-ambitious here, maybe tries to go for a grass proc, he could be in trouble.
Yeah, and this is so important for XL. Kryze is on the weak side, basically picking a tank into a losing matchup, but he's even, you know? He's even in CS, even in XP, and even on the TPs. So doing really well up into his top side, considering his weak side. Dan was playing bot side. He picked up the Drake for his team. And yeah, Kryze playing really well so far.
It's good to see. Kryze is a guy that we've been watching as well who has been steadily improving over the course of the split. It was usually scaling last season. This time around, it's a different story. This time around, even on a weak side, he might be getting a little bit more support from the team. It's well highlighted by our observers. Dan deftly running through Fog of War, hiding, looking for the angle, waiting. There's going to be the knock-up. The flash immediately out from Jenax. good but small advantage over to the side of Excel. They have 5 minutes now to double down on that one and find a kill onto the top laner of SK.
Yeah, that should free up Kryze a lot, especially when it comes to things like the Herald start. You know, if Excel decide to go for a swap into Herald with their bot lane and Gnar has no flash, you can easily walk up to him when he's on that Mega Gnar. Patrik has to pop the ult because Treatz jumps in.
Snare immediately coming
TP's
through.
coming in.
Backing off, TynX stepping forward, but is immediately going to get snared. They don't really have a follow-up play at this point. Knowing that the jungler was on the top side, SK feel empowered to go for that one. It will just be a bit of lane pressure and the cleanse out from Patrik in the exchange.
Yeah, gets the cleanse out of Patrik and the ult, so not bad overall. Blue TP'd in just in case there was any response from XL. Does catch the mid-wave in time, so mid lane looking quite even, bot lane looking quite even. Yes, Patrik is down a combat summon and ult, and SK actually get the base first. Do they want to move towards this Herald? It did just spawn 8 minutes into the game. Maybe Treatz moves towards mid and he can start controlling the river because XL have a lot of bot side vision, whereas SK only really have that pink in top side.
The debate here, Patrik and Torre walking like they might just head to the mid lane and be happy with moving around here. Torre not quite level 6, but if he's close to that one, it is a huge playmaking opportunity as Czekolad's going to be donated the blue.
Yeah, XL Dan just cleared out all his bot camps, handed off blue. Top camps are up. We have the top push. We have some tempo in bot side. Let's move towards this Herald. So, really good execution from XL. See if they can pull the play off as Treatz gets hit by the bubble. That's a double drowsy.
Sleep. Torre can fish for the follow-up, but they've managed to leap out before anything else could land. Patrik fishing for TynX, but XL using a lot of resources. It does look like it'll secure them the Herald, however. Jenax not really close enough to Mega to provide a big enough threat, and Jin still very slowly pushing in on the bottom side. So XL are not only going to get this Rift Herald, but they might not lose too much for the exchange. Jin not notoriously very good at taking down tower plates.
Yeah, XL had all the check marks for if we can swap for Herald. They had the top push, they had the mid push, they have bot lane tempo, jungle camps are up top side, so everything checked out for them to go towards this Herald. They managed to get jungle and mid flash out of SK. TynX and blue, no flash now, so hard to step into river and try to contest in 2v2s and 3v3s without that combat summoner. SK will try to trade on the bot side for some plates, but XL have this Herald in their pocket, and their bot lane's pushing into this top side against Jenax, who has no flash.
And frankly, I really like this from XL. Overall, it feels like just very good, clean play. They're not falling behind too far in any single lane. Even the Scion, as you mentioned earlier, is matched. Now they've got the Herald. We're going to have to see how they use that. And if they keep playing so cleanly, it feels like XL are set up for the first time in a long time to actually build an early game lead.
Yeah, 100%. And now a key thing you have to notice here in the lane swap is Kryze is undivable for the bot lane of SK. Even if TynX is there, even if blue is there, I think even in a 3v1, Kryze might be able to ult out or even clear the wave in their face. So you can see SK basing going towards the top side. They're going to lose a wave for this on both side lanes because they know that Jenax can get dove by the Ryze ult, and then Patrik and Torre being there, no flash on the Gnar, a lot squishier than the Scion. And even if Kryze were to die, he can use his passive to clear the wave. So XL will be way too ahead in tempo. Let's match the bot lane. Maybe XL want to reswap. Maybe they want to go towards the bot side now, and they want to keep mismatching SK because the Kryze can clear the wave in everyone's face, and they can just keep playing with these winning lanes.
That's the thing that's so infuriating about Scion as a tank, is that he just gets to one-shot your wave. If you don't have hard CC on like a 4-second cooldown, he just gets to Q your wave and one-shot it. That feels really fun.
It's the tankiness and the wave clear which makes it so hard to swap into a Scion. So XL's playing so smartly around that. I think Kryze might look to just roam mid or base and ult top here, catch the wave, and XL making sure that they can match into Jenax because they can look for dives and Jenax has to be scared, whereas Kryze can clear the wave in their face. If you want to dive me, guys, I'll die on purpose. Maybe I can even trade 1-for-1 and I'll still clear your wave.
And I like what we're seeing from XL. Again, leveraging the Scion. XL not overstepping in a lot of these plays, but still willing to set these traps up, waiting for the perfect moment as we see the Scion ult used as kind of the almost semi-global that it is. In this case, just used to pick up the farm so they're not losing out significantly on that top wave.
Yeah, exactly. I think Kryze ulting top there is really crucial because there was 2 waves stacked. Doesn't want to fall behind in gold. Picks up that wave around 200 gold in XP, and then he can keep pushing in the wave. So what do SK do? Are they going to lose these top waves? Look at Jenax. He ran from bot lane all the way to top. So XL playing around tempo so well on these side waves. All they're doing is making the enemy team lose waves. You can see Patrick's up a little bit in CS, Kryze is up a little bit in CS, taking platings, which is so important. So this tempo advantage is giving them pushing waves, lots of plates as Czekolad uses the cleanse. He's looking for blue. Blue has no flash. The ball does miss. And XL is starting up the second Drake, I think.
Yeah, it looks good overall. XL, everything is on track for them right down at this stage of the game. Patrick's feeling comfortable working towards that first item. Overall, feels like a very good early game from XL. Not giving anything up, not put in a position where they have to make any big plays. And it feels like XL finally starting to find their footing. Not something you normally expect to see after such a rough day one, but credit to the composure of the team to stay focused here as they moved into day two.
Yeah, and speaking of playmaking, SKs are the ones that need to make these plays. They have the global on blue, TP on Jenax coming up soon as well. TynX needs to get ahead on this Graves, and they need to start snowballing this game a little bit to get this TF. slightly ahead or actually make some plays happen to get his team ahead, because if TF goes in a side against Ryze and the game's even, the Ryze will always win. So SK definitely need to make sure something happens in this early game. They're down 2 dragons. They lost the Herald as well. All the neutral objectives went in favor from XL from just smart rotations. You know, with Drake spawning soon, let's move our bot lane into bot side and then make sure we can contest and just keep Kryze on this tower to clear waves. So a really smart play from XL. They're going to use the Herald mid here. Patrick space, so these plates will probably go to Czekolad.
I'm going to grab here. Looks like it probably is just going to be 2 plates. I don't think they have enough power here in the mid lane to force the tower down in its entirety, but still good money over to Czekolad and Dan. No one else going to be involved in that one. In blue, not really able to do anything in this game quite yet. It doesn't feel like we've seen a single ult come out from the TF, and I know it can be difficult up against the Ryze, who has so much pressure in the mid lane that it always feels like you have to be willing to give up multiple waves to try to make a side lane play, but definitely a bit of a struggle, even though blue does have a small individual gold advantage.
Yeah, we said it in the draft, right? Where is blue really going to ult realistically this game? Kryze is way too tanky. Patrik has the cleanse and the ult, and Tori can always dash back to Patrik if he decides to flash away, so it's very hard for blue to find openings in this game. He's lost 3 platings in mid, 2 platings fallen on the side lanes for side of SK, whereas XL only really lost 2 platings in total. So XL ahead in plates, gold is still even, but they're making sure that their scaling composition is not falling behind the early game, which is key. We're almost at 50 minutes, and they're not down any gold. So that's a good sign for XL.
That's positive. They only got to plus 96 in summer. This is like plus 200. A little bit more. That's a positive trend.
Especially when your comp's outscaling, right? Their comp's so much better over side, so much better in team fights. They already have 2 dragons. All the scaling is on the side of XL, so SK need to find a way to crack this game open. But they've got time to work. They've got about 10, 12 minutes to work with.
But I still love that despite the fact that XL are very comfortable just scaling up, you still see all of this deep vision being placed by Torre. XL still could pull the trigger at a moment's notice if we see SK overextend, if they try to fight for this vision when they are, don't have the lane priority necessary to do so. So XL clearly have their eye on the prize. We're scaling, we are getting these dragons. All of the vision right now belongs to them.
Yeah, Infernal Soul is really, really big one. Ocean, Infernal, obviously the 2 strongest ones, whereas Mountain is quite strong. If you have a bit of front line, it makes it a bit annoying for Assassins. Whereas Cloud is not the strongest, especially if you're playing champions like Lilia and Xayah. It doesn't help too much. Doesn't give you too much combat power, but Treatz might be getting caught here.
Treatz now getting caught out, trying to leap out to safety, but they put him to sleep. Blue gonna try to body block as best he can. A flash to safety means Treatz makes it away, but very big from XL.
Are we gonna get a first blood this game before 20 minutes? I hope so.
I didn't realize that no one had died yet. Good catch, Kate.
No one's died yet. First blood still yet to be taken. XL just playing the map. Czekolad's pushing in this mid wave. TynX is behind it, but Dan and Tori are around. This could go bad for SK.
Stun card, immediately gonna go for the root. The root will not quite connect. Czekolad now trying to retreat is now. Tori's trying to find the re-engage, and he will. That's first blood for XL. Asking you shall receive, Caedrel. Instantly, that's gonna be TynX going down.
Yep, TynX didn't have enough information to work with there. He tried to go for the 2v1 onto Czekolad. Has the cleanse, even has the flash up, so not much kill pressure there. Maybe they just wanted to push him out. But XL, look, like you talked about, the amount of deep vision they have on the bot side of the map, they can just stay in this vision. They try to make a pick on Treatz. They stay around. TynX goes for the play, goes horribly wrong, and now blue had to base. He might lose his mid tower here. TynX is still dead. Maybe they can move into bot side now. Maybe they can pick up 2 towers, but blue's popped the ult. He might be looking for some kind of play here, but it's so hard to go onto anyone.
But you know what? If you're XL right now, Caedrel, you are elated. You are thrilled. Because it said 0% on that early game for first tower. And now it has to have a number bigger than 0, because they did just get their first turret
Not only did they get
of the season.
Not only did they get their first tower, but they're 2k gold up at 15 minutes. So the opposite of the statistics. But yeah, Czekolad easily would win that 1v2, I think, in terms of getting out. But Tori, Dan are around, uses the flashes. 2 flashes used by XL, but they pick up first blood. And yeah, like we said, the gold's definitely in favor of XL. And that's such a good sign. Scaling composition, winning the early game, all neutral objectives in your favor. Can XL keep it up? The next dragon spawning in 40 seconds. They don't have flash on their main engage, but they should still be able to find the fight with the lead that they've got.
And one thing that I love is that they're giving so much respect over the side of SK. They took away Treatz' flash. He still has the Hex flash up and available, but if they keep laying down this vision, you can see Torre down on the bottom side of the map. They keep laying down this vision. We're not going to see another Fog of War Hex flash come through from Treatz. XL giving that respect over to the enemy support, giving respect for the potential Fog of War plays that have made Treatz so successful in his game yesterday. Now Treatz going to really struggle to find an angle to kick things off, to get a fight started in SK's favor. It is not easy for SK to play this team comp. Gnar is not a Scion. He's kind of a bruiser. He's kind of a giant engage threat, but he's neither reliably when you need him to be, and that's going to make it very difficult for SK.
Yeah, this next Drake fight will dictate the game. We'll have to see how it's played out. XL have still a lot of control around this river, but SK are first to the river. Kryze is too late, Czekolad's a little bit late, so SK can walk in first. Maybe XL can catch them out if they decide to go too deep for the vision. I think SK have to contest this dragon, because if they lose this dragon, XL's on soul point. Tori doesn't have the flash, but if they can find the engage, Maybe they can get the fight, because Kryze is so tanky. Jezu can't really deal with him. Jenax is building up the Naba. Looks like they're going through bot. Midwave's pushed in. Blue is on the side.
Maybe they can kick the fight off. A brief moments of tension, but now they're looking to get things kicked off. Curtain call coming out. Blue off to the side, trying to pick someone off before the fight even starts. That's Dan gone. There's no more jungler. He goes golden. He buys a bit more space to work with. Blue trying to sidestep. The flash away. The gold card. Unavailable. Jenax with a clutch Gnar and SK. They've done it again. They found a way to turn the fight. XL. They got out executed. They got cut down, and they're going to lose their mid lane tower.
XL. What, they fall apart. SK find 5 kills on this dragon fight, 5 for 0 when you're behind, and against the team fight composition, SK pull a rabbit out of a hat. They clutch the fight. I think Treatz and Jenax just clutch the whole fight with their ultimates. SK pick up the 3rd dragon. They're gonna push in mid, they're gonna push in bot, and SK are back in the game.
Caedrel. It looked so good for XL. It felt like the perfect winning formula. Neutral into a head in the mid game. They've got the scaling in their favor, and you said it, pull a rabbit out of the hat. SK are magicians in the LEC right now. How do they find these opportunities?
Yeah, lots of things to keep your eye on here. I think Treatz was the main engage. He knows he has to engage here because XL can finish the dragon. XL are all clumped up. He goes in with the engage. He gets 3 people, and look at Blue's stun card. Hits onto Dan, and then the ultimate from Jin hits him, kills him. Blue manages to flash away and live, and then look at Jenax building up the Naba. Here he comes, jumps in, flash stun, gets Patrik and Kryze into another double stun, and then SK clean house from there.
And it was just such a good look overall. Keep in mind, Jenax was very low, but because they could not walk forward to finish the job on the side of XL, they really couldn't finish most of those kills. 5-1 now the kill score. Split damage across the entire fight for SK, a massive team effort.
Yeah, XL's team fighting there was quite poor, I must say, but SK definitely clutched it. XL stayed way too clumped up against things like the Rel and the Gnar. XL were not very spread out in being able to deal with this. They had so many ultimates and so many carries and so much damage, but they couldn't actually deal the damage because they were CC'd too much. So super well played from SK. They regained control of the game. They haven't taken a tower just yet, and XL still have the scaling in their favor, I must say. But SK have definitely found what they need to start getting back in this game.
And again, what happened yesterday? They're losing. They're losing. They're losing. They turn it around in a moment's notice. What happened today? They were going even. They started to lose. They started to fall behind. It looks dire. They turn it around again. This is crazy from SK.
Yeah, and I think the key thing you have to think about is most people think of gold when they think of leads. You know, SK's down in gold. XL was slightly ahead of gold. They weren't actually that far ahead in gold, but there's lots of resources in league. You know, there's gold, there's tempo, there's neutral objectives, there's vision. XL had a lot of resources. They didn't have a huge gold lead, only 1k, but they had neutral objective advantage. They had tower advantages. They had wave advantages. They had vision advantages. So many resources were in favor of XL before this fight started, but SK just kind of won the team fight. They out-mechanically fought them, and now they have control of the game.
And this is big because, again, for most of this game, Blue has been very quiet. But now that his team is starting to pull ahead, he's on 2 items. He's got the Rapid Fire Cannon. He's got the Everfrost. Now, finally, he can utilize the full potential of this Twisted Fate to go into these side lanes, to look to start to break down that mid-tier 1 and open up the map. But XL, they're not going to let it happen too easily. Torre and Dan ready. They're waiting in the darkness. They're fishing for some big plays.
Yeah, Jezu has the flash, but if XL can find 1 engage onto TynX or onto Jezu, with the numbers advantage, they should be able to win the fight. So SK needs to be really careful of how far they overstep, because XL can collapse quite quickly with the Zyrakan and with the Ryze ultimate.
Now with the Stride Breakers coming through, you can see a little bit easier for Jenax to keep the pressure up. Obviously can't really pull too far ahead in CS, and Sion will continue to scale. The extra health from his passive is going to add up as we get later and later to the game. And as we noted before, it is 3 AD threats from the side of SK Gaming. So Sion should have a pretty easy time itemizing as we move on.
Yeah, SK needs to keep their foot on the gas. They're going to get this bot tier 1 because Jenax should win out on the side lane, but XL are pushing in the top. They have full Baron control, so SK need to retake this vision, push XL out and start pushing their advantage forwards. Jenax trading onto Kryze here. You can see that side lane is definitely in favor of the Gnar.
No, not really a whole lot to do. Kryze, even if he manages to land the decimating smash, the base damages are no longer carrying him through the trades. And Jenax with the Stride Breaker will just whittle him down. The Gnar W passive, very, very powerful up against the tankier members of an enemy team, but Torre still fishing. A little bit of vision here, set up the control ward to make sure that Treatz can comfortably step forward. They can also take control of the Baron area. Baron doesn't feel super on the table for the side of SK at this point. They really lack a true tank, but it is important to note that XL with a Sion, with the double damage threats of a Xayah and a Ryze, can, if they win a fight, look to take this Baron.
Yeah, you're completely right, Drakos. SK's Baron start is not the greatest, not too much frontline to tank it, and not a lot of burst potential to actually finish it. Yes, they have the 4th shot, but getting it low is very difficult, especially if XL are on the map, and there's 5 members alive. So they don't want to risk any Baron starts, try to force an engage or anything like this, because they'll get way too chunked out, not enough sustain in front line to tank up the Baron, and then by the time XL come, they should be able to clean them up. So SK probably not going to start the Baron here. They're probably going to play over side lanes, push in these sides. Maybe Blue can use his ultimate mid to start forcing Patrick's summoners. Maybe he can go behind Jenax, try catch out Czekolad, who's actually gone towards the bot lane now. So interesting. XL have actually swapped up their solo laners. Czekolad doesn't have TP, but he has the ultimate if he wants to get to the Baron. Maybe XL wanted some kind of bot push before this dragon spawns, so they can actually contest the bot side vision. But Blue, we just talked about it, gonna go behind Jenax. Maybe they can catch out Czekolad on the next wave, or try and catch out Torre if he oversteps.
All eyes on the setup.
He's overstepping.
Fumbled it last time. Torre now trying to run to safety. Is going to be able to dash out. The gold card still connects, but the follow-up is simply not there. That's a QSS from Torre. Well called out there, Caedrel. Stun card won't land either, but they force Patrick's ult out before the fight even starts. All of the defensive cooldowns are now gone from the side of Excel.
This is what you need to do. If you have globals that can't get kill pressure, get summoner spell pressure, or try to get some ultimates out of the team before the fight starts, right? A global in a team fight is useless, but use it before the team fight starts to force a team fight ultimate like Patrick's or the QSS from Torre, so when the team fight comes, it's a little bit easier. So, good force there from SK.
10 seconds, they're just trying to burn them down, and again, their Treatz manages to find a big curtain call across the bad side. They're just cutting them down. Blue now moving forward, unstoppable, but not unstoppable enough. Jenax just walloping through the entire team. Czekolad now trying to turn and burn. They're caught in the pinch. Ryze doing so much damage. He's taking his time, he's flashing forward, he's trying to finish the job, but he's overstayed his welcome. TynX now on a rampage. SK again finding the fight.
SK do it again. Treatz goes in, Jenax gets in. They get 4 members of XL. Maybe they can do Baron here. This is what we talked about. SK can't start the Baron when there's 5 members alive, but if there's 4 dead, baby, they're going to go for it.
Jenax now just going to move in, just going to bully Kryze, knowing Kryze is the only one to really contest this. Even if he's tanky, he can't really approach. No ultimate left either, and SK feeling good. Another clutch engage coming in, and you're starting to see why Rel taken off the board for the supports in our league. It is just such a powerful pick.
Might be a bit risky for SK. They're getting really chunked out. Kryze is around. Maybe he can just step into them. They don't have the damage to take him down. Looks like they have to finish the Baron and run. TynX has the smite.
Torre ready to go in. Torre trying to find the follow-up, but he's going to miss. TynX ignited, but still the knockback is there. Jenax managing to turn again. Kryze getting taken down, and it is insult to injury. Excel, they thought they saw their moment, but they just get deeper down into their own grave.
Oh, it's an absolute horror for Excel. I think Torre tried to steal the Baron there from TynX. Yes, it could have been a hero moment. It could have saved the game for them. Doesn't end up getting it, so it looks like he was maybe making a mistake there, but he was trying to steal the Baron. Didn't get it in the end. TynX secures it with the smite. And XL, yeah, insult to injury. Now look at the gold deficit. They're down almost 8k gold. SK have so much control of the game, and it all comes down to the team fights. Dan gets caught.
Goes golden. But now it's a Sleepy Graves. Maybe Czekolad can finish the job. Has
the
TynX
Raptor break the
overstayed.
sleep? I think the Raptor broke the sleep so TynX could get away.
I'm not going to be honest, I don't know if that works. I'm going to believe you on that one, Caedrel. You play a lot more earlier than I do.
I think it cancelled the sleep, and then Czekolad couldn't get the roots, but in the end, TynX does live. And SK sieging onto this mid tower, playing a 4-1. Their comp is 4-1 in a way because the TF is more of a supportive utility mage. You know, he has the Rapid Fire, has the Everfrost, has so much CC. He doesn't want to go on a side lane against Czekolad. He doesn't want a 1v1. He wants to stay with his team, walk up to the tower, lock in a gold card, and if anyone from XL tries to clear the wave, they're going to get stunned up.
Czekolad doing what he can to pick off the side lanes, hoping to get something back. Again, we see this so frequently from mid laners, knowing that there's not a lot to do in the face of this Baron buff, feeling comfortable to push it in the side lane. The risk is, your team gets engaged on it, will cost a lot. But SK, they're not going to take any big risks here. They're going to be happy with their second Infernal Drake of the game, as well as a 9k gold lead. At 15 minutes, Excel, 2k up, 2k in their favor. Now 9k in the favor of SK.
Yeah, his replay of the fight, and I think Treatz gets a key engage. A stun on the Torre, has no QSS, double Magnet Storm. Patrik has the flash, but he doesn't have the ult to dodge away from the shots. And then Jenax gets Meganar, stun hits onto Dan, double knockback, double stun. Ooh, Observers! Oh, the fourth shot!
You're just smurfing.
Boom! Woo! You love to see it. And then Czekolad does get cleaned up. He almost clutches the fight with the amount of AoE damage from the E and the Q. Gets taken down. 4 kills for SK. They get the Baron. They get another 2 kills on top of that after XL tried to contest with Torre and with Kryze. XL trying to set up a bait onto this bush. Maybe if Treatz oversteps, he could get caught out here. Or TynX has no flash too.
But this is what it's come down to, Caedrel, is it is just hiding in bushes. It is looking for these single windows of opportunity, trying to catch someone from SK sleeping or playing a little bit disrespectfully. But when you're playing against a Twisted Fate, hiding in a brush isn't a reliable strategy. The second that ultimate comes down, XL have been spotted out. They have to pull back, and with double cannon minions pushing in on the top side, SK could look to start a siege.
Yeah, and SK is playing smartly there. Even if they weren't having the TF ult, they just didn't overstep. They knew if they push waves in, someone's going to have to show on the wave, and then we can walk into the jungle. Let's not go into the jungle first and then push waves. Always push waves first. When someone shows, kills, then you can go into the jungle if you can see you have a numbers advantage. So SK playing smart, they're using the TF ult just to make sure that they're safe. And now they're setting up this 4-1 again, but instead they're going for 4 people on the top side. Jenax in mid, Baron buff still up. See if they can get any towers from this.
And for right now, the waves aren't perfectly synced, so Excel not going to have to give up too much here, actually. The Baron buff falling away just in time that their base will not be broken open. Low health towers protecting those inhibitors, but still, SK not going to find a greater advantage off that one. Might take another Baron for them to break the base, but with this massive of a gold lead, with 10k advantage in their favor, maybe they can just force a fight. Now it is Kryze kicking things off, but the going golden on blue. The Magnet Storm again, hitting, managing to connect on the 3. Blue finding the gun stun card over the wall. It's Ryze still trying to throw down damage, though, looking for the trade back. Patrik has now killed Treatz. Blue is in trouble because Czekolad is on the hunt. Excel, they managed to find a fight. The Decimating Smash won't connect, but the shutdown comes through. Now Dan prancing forward, looking for a little bit more, but backing up. But Excel have managed to hold the line. They managed to shift a little bit of gold back into their favor.
Yeah, SK stepping way too far forwards there. Blue made a crucial mistake, and the reason Treatz went in was because he was saving Blue from the Scion Q, knocking him up because Blue had no flash after that stopwatch. So, good play from Treatz. He does lose his life to save Blue, but they just stepped way too far forwards. XL, they still have a teamfight comp. They still have engaged. They still have frontline. So you still have to be scared. Yes, you are 8k gold up. You have full control of the game, but the key thing here is Blue steps up way too far. He has the stun card, but then he uses rapid fire. The engage comes in. Now look at the Q from Kryze. He charges it up, and he's going to get a knock up onto Blue, but the Magnet Storm in from Treatz saves Blue, gets him out of the fight, and then Treatz does end up dying. They chase down. Jezu eventually does die, and it's 2 kills for XL, which is exactly what you need if you want to hold on with this comp.
And the fact that Blue even manages to make it out alive is almost a miracle within itself. Sun card coming in clutch, but the shutdowns are going to be big for shifting gold back to where it needs to be on the side of XL. Czekolad now coming in with the Void Staff. No longer are the tankier members really going to feel that tanky in the face of this. And we can see not that much MR either on the side of the team whatsoever. So keep your eyes on the rise in the fights to come. Czekolad has the potential to just absolutely pop off.
Yeah, not much MR, just the Merc Treads coming in from SK in general. But XL aren't really out of this game yet. They have a really good composition on scaling. They're not too far behind on XP, only 1 level down on each member, barring the jungle. And they're only, I mean, they are lots of gold down. Yes, they're around 9k gold down, and SK have full control of the map. But XL, if they can find the engage and find the fights, Torre can flash on someone. SK are all squishy. XL have so much damage, they have so much burst with the Rise, with Desire to take the front line down.
And again, this is a playoffs fight. These are 2 teams contesting for the spots. They're neck and neck right now in the standings. 5th versus 6th, or well, at this point a 3-way tie for 3rd. XL start to win, they can start to rise back up, but they lose, they're in that 3-way tie, which is actually going to turn into a 3-way tie for 6th. Standings are complicated. They're going to be knocked down a peg, and that is a big deal.
Yeah, it's so important. If XL win this game, they can get 1 win ahead of Schalke, of Misfits, be a little bit ahead of them. But if they lose this game, they're facing a 3-way tie for 6th. As Kryze looking for the engage. TynX does dash away.
Tower just going to block that one out nicely. Curtain call to look for the potential re-engage. SK taking their time on this one, though.
Treatz.
Still going to find the flash. Magnet Storm still going to kick things off. Blue now stepping in. He's not going to get caught out by anyone. Patrik pulling the feathers back. Maybe he can buy enough space for his team to get away from this one. But Czekolad locked up. He was supposed to be the damage threat, but Jenax with the turn. The Gnar is just too powerful. The double kill for Treatz. Zombie Scion, the last source of damage, is going to get one back, but a massive fight for XL.
Those are the 2 forms of engage for SK. Treatz goes in first, gets all of XL low, gets them clumped up, then Jenax follows up while XL are running for the hills. 4 members down, only Torre alive, 30 seconds on the players of XL. I think SK can push in here. They might look to end.
Certainly have the tools to do so. Dan going to be the first one to respawn, but might be respawning to a dead Nexus. As Torre also just taken out in an instant. The white flag wave by TynX, but is it XL who in the end will be waving at SK, managing to turn around a shaky early game and bring it back with 3 back-to-back commanding fights. SK will find the win.
And XL, they had a 1 to 2k gold lead at 50 minutes. They had all the neutral objectives in their pocket. They were looking at a 3rd Infernal Dragon. They had a huge vision amount of, they had so much vision, so much gold, so much neutral objectives, but then they just lost the 5v5, 5 kills for SK, and SK just snowballed from there on after that dragon fight.
And again, we talked about Treatz a lot as a guy to look at, but the other person bearing the engage burden on this team is Jenax. Sometimes it's so hard to find these ways into fights as Gnar. You have a rage bar. People know that it's coming, but despite that, Jenax so consistently in these fights had such clutch ultimates.
And that's Jenax's first Gnar game of the split, you know. You might think that his Gnar could have looked shaky because it's his first time on stage showing up as Gnar, but that was one of the best Gnar performances I've ever seen in terms of team fights.
Definitely looking good.
That was impressive.
Key player of the game, no surprise to see at LEC on Twitter, Jenax, TynX, or Treatz. Do you like the damage or do you like the engage? Those are your options. It can go either way, to be completely honest.
Pick your poison.
Exactly. Well, coming up next, we're going to look closer at SK's win as they are going full steam ahead towards playoffs.
Lovely.
Lovely.
I don't really consider it gear. It's an extension of who I am. It blurs the line between fantasy and reality. Sometimes, I can't tell myself from my machine. I think that's by design.
Welcome back to the LEC. SK Gaming just secured their 5th win in a row and are marching towards a top spot in the standings. I'm joined once again by my ex-Deficio as well as Ender. And while, of course, we're able to see SK pick up the win, XL now on a 5-game losing streak. Man, it's like 2 generations of people just arguing. We do have a pretty lengthy discussion to go in, and thank you to Ashley for giving up the interview to give us some additional time. But in preparing for this post-game and also talking about the plays that are unfolding, Ashley used a beautiful word for the first team fight. She said that watching XL set up for Dragon made a beautiful canvas for Treatz as well. Just dumpster with a 3-man ultimate.
He took out the red paint and just went...
That is it, exactly. I mean, look, pull this first replay up. And this was really where SK got back into the game. They were down 2 Dragons, they were down 1,500.
Yeah, look at Treatz' ultimate right here. It's absolutely beautiful, running into the front, and then Dan's going to get isolated right in the front for that bolt to fly through. Jezu finishes off the kill. And all the way, meantime, Jenax coming out of the sleep. He has his Meganar ready to go, gets Patrik right up against the wall, even after the cleanse, still lands that follow-up CC, so it was just a beautiful fight all around.
And I feel like this fight showed 2 main reasons for why SK is so good right now. Treatz and Jenax team fighting.
Yeah.
Like, both those 2 players are so good in fights. Treatz is the main engage, and Jenax always is the follow-up. Like, we praised the Aatrox before, and we were like, oh, is it only
But that was the
Aatrox
Jarvan Aatrox game, right? That set up for him so much.
Yeah, that game we don't remember. But now, even with like Gnar and so on, like, he doesn't have to do anything in the early game. They don't play around him. Like, they just leave Jenax on top side, and he doesn't need the help either. Then he gets to late game team fighting, great setup from Treatz into then Jenax, happened multiple times.
If SK fall behind early, they just don't get as a viewer, as a caster, you know they're going to come back. I mean, look, there's another beautiful team fight in the mid lane here. I mean, TynX ends up like popping off with the help of Jezu as well. Just the Jinx and the Graves and the Jhin from range. Just really destroying. By this point, you already know XL are kind of donezo, but this is just the coffin being nailed shut.
Yeah, and it was really nice to see a game for SK where it wasn't just like the bot lane coming away with like a huge lead out of lane and then using that to overwhelm their opponents. But yet again, it was another game where they were setting up for their team in the team fights with the Rel and the Jhin. Of course, the observers absolutely smurfing, even harder than SK.
It's kind of even more concerning for XL now, because I think them removing Kalista, good choice. We saw how SK Gaming, as you highlighted, didn't really necessarily get ahead early, didn't try and snowball early, even though that's been the weakness of XL, that they always fall really far behind. It was actually even, slightly ahead maybe for XL. And they had a decent teamfight setup as well on their side, and
this
yet
man
they
didn't
still got destroyed.
No, they absolutely did. I mean, like, look, TynX ended up closing it out. Just, you know, I want to highlight the stats there before we move on. And in our pregame and in our discussions yesterday, we've been asking the question, like, have XL and have Schalke been figured out? I think going into this pregame, Fisher, you were saying sort of the same thing. I think Ender, you said it in ReadyCheck. If it goes to team fights and it goes late, well, XL are even more screwed because everyone else is doing it better.
If everyone else is playing XL style, then XL are just worse.
And we just saw that today. Nevertheless, the reason that we do have, obviously, Deficio in a little bit of extra time, we want to talk about playoff implications. I do need to close that game out. It was Jenax that won, the player of the game. He picked up 47% of the votes. I think you're all wrong. I think it's recency bias. Fine. Like, that last ultimate was great. Treatz should have won it, regardless of that fact. Let's move on. I want to bring up the standings just as soon as we can. And I am going to start with XL because of what you were just saying, Deficio. Why are you grinning like a fool?
I was just like, he was an old man who just wanted all the attention. Like, you ignore all the fans, what they vote for.
They're wrong.
You want to get your voice
Somebody
out there.
needs to tell them when they're wrong.
It's true. It's Odwamne.
Yeah. Right. 3 horse race for playoffs. Okay. 5-8, 5-8, 5-8. Misfits, Schalke, and XL. I do want to start with XL. I want to talk a little bit about them. Deficio, I'm going to go back to you here. We talked about the weaknesses, the challenges that XL face. They are now on a 5-game losing streak. And in a moment's time, we're also going to bring up the strength of schedule, which will be the last remaining games. Now, while I wait for that to populate, I will just read them to you very, very briefly. On the side of XL, they play Fnatic next Friday. They play Vitality next Saturday. And then you can see the remaining games of G2, Rogue, and Schalke.
It's not an easy schedule. I mean, so I guess we can all very quickly remove the Fnatic, G2, and the Rogue game and say, let's count that as 3 losses on their side. The Vitality and Schalke, of course, are winnable. The Schalke one might end up being the big one in case, you know, of the standings, how they look. But I think with the XL, like, it's even less about the schedule because you have now shown you can lose to pretty much any team. Like, and even this game here, when they had a good setup and got towards team fighting, they struggled there, even though that used to be their strength. Like, normally you want to say, like, hard reset and find something new that works for you. But I've been in this situation before where nothing works and you just keep losing games and you feel the pressure. You can see playoffs get further and further away from you. And you don't have time to hard reset. It doesn't exist in the middle of the split because right now, they will have 1 day off tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're not going to like it. They're going to be really pissed. And they're going to try and figure out, like, each individual player is going to think to himself, what can I do different? What's wrong with this team? How do we win? And then on Monday, they start scrimming again.
Yeah.
And there is no time to say, okay, completely stop. Let's switch it up and say we only play topside now. You know, let's try that style because this doesn't work for us. So I feel like the only saving grace for them at the moment is that they discover 1 to 2 picks that the team just plays super well around, which is not Azir, of course, because that's going to be banned.
Well, listen,
and they have to focus on that.
I don't know if there's enough time, right? I'm already terrified at that thought. 5-game losing streak. I'm not going to go into Schalke 04. They are on a 6-game losing streak. I'm going to coin this the reverse miracle run. On track for, the longest loss streak of the year thus far. But the other side of this coin is that when there is somebody losing, somebody has to benefit. Misfits are on a 2-game winning streak, right? They're now tied in that race at 5-8, and on their strength of schedule, Misfits next weekend will be playing Astralis and then G2 before we jump into Mad, Fnatic, and Vitality. Now, Ender, this is a slightly more favorable match setup, and I want you to just intro this before the monologue from Deficio.
I'll keep it short.
I got nothing to say. I'm done. I have nothing more to say.
I mean, honestly, if you look at it as far as like the really difficult games, you'd put like G2 up there, and then maybe a Fnatic, a Mad Lions, perhaps. But, like those are within grasp for Misfits, and I think that from what I saw from you this week, it's funny hearing you talk about it's hard to find a hard reset. And I don't think Misfits have hard reset, but in the way that specifically Razork has approached the early game, we heard him and here both talking about and putting attention around mid, helping out one of those rookie players on the team find some early footing in the early game. I feel like Misfits have looked a whole lot more put together in just the last 2 games.
I agree.
What I will say as well is at the beginning of the day, I actually asked you for your predictions of which teams would make the top 6, right? Now, we didn't air your prediction because it was the most generic expected. The top 5 plus Misfits. No duh. That's what's official today. However, not one member of Drakos, Ender, or Caedrel had Misfits in the top 6 at all.
Yeah, but that's because the quality of analysts have dropped significantly over the last 3 years.
Ender. No, okay. Mad Lions are hot on SK's heels in the standings and are looking for a decisive win as they go up against the last place fighter. He actually rage quit. Nice.
The Boomer Show now.
Dude. Oh, it's so good.